Buckle up, excellence junkies, because this podcast is definitely for you. Welcome to Rockafuel. Do you wish that you could surround yourself with people that love to kick ass just like you? Well, come to my party, baby, and meet some of the brightest stars in the entrepreneurial galaxy, because it is my mission to give these entrepreneurs a platform to declare what they are on this planet to accomplish and to show you why they are rocket fuel. And we're live. Oh, guys, we just recorded an episode, or I just recorded an episode with an amazing expert who helps women, helps people realize how much their environment and the colors in their environment are actually affecting their mood or potentially their desire for reinvention. And so I welcome Jeanette Chasworth, the color whisperer. I love it. Jeanette, you're a highly experienced interior designer. I mean, you make custom furniture, etc. But you have this soft spot and really just an intuitive knack for helping people that are in this transitional stage. Can you talk a little bit more about, you were talking about why is this important to you? Why do you feel connected to this?
There's several reasons. One, I'm Scorpio, which apparently has a lot to do with transformation.
Oh.
And it's really, I've had a lot of death in my life. I've helped a lot of people go through death, cleaned out houses. And it started with my own father dying when I was a year old. And so grief was always a part of me until I was able to find a healer who was able to allow me to grieve. Because at a year old, you don't know how to grieve.
Right.
So he released that grief in me. And, I've gone through a lot of different life changes myself. And each time I depended on my house to, how do I reinvent myself? And I think because of one of the techniques that makes me a whisperer I use is a wardrobing technique that is a reflection of your energy. And so it's helping people to rediscover themselves. And whether people know it or not, when they're hiring me, they're looking for rediscovery and reinvention. And that's the key. Is it's not just about making your home pretty, it's about reinventing it.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the wardrobing technique that you found valuable in your interior design work.
So they're basically 4 different types of personality. Mm-hmm. There's the cheerleader. There's the supporter, the person who's very calm. There's somebody who kind of takes, lets other people take the lead, but they're calmer. And then you've got the leader.
Guess what?
Yes.
I'm actually purposely going to stop you because you go through all of this in the longer episode. And so if you were intrigued, my dear Rocketeer listener, join us and listen to the longer episode, because she goes through all that. And no intention to be rude, but I'm just being sneaky and saying that people need to listen. But you know what? You went in depth through all of this. So let's say there were 4 personalities that you went through in the longer episode, right? And so you realize that, so in other words, the colors that we wear affect, can either amplify our personality trait or actually make people, feel that personality trait. Is that a fair understanding?
Yes.
Gotcha.
All the colors have their own personality, their own effect on us psychologically, and then the shade of that color can impact us. Now, see, you wear black very, very well. I don't get black. I can do it, but it doesn't sparkle on me the way it sparkles on you. You've got a lot of high contrast in your skin tone and your hair, and you need that high contrast because that gives you life.
Yeah, I do. I dig it. Interesting. Yeah. So then all of a sudden and people pay for that. Like I know executives who pay to do their color palettes and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, don't realize that, guess what? That's just what you're walking in. Imagine, what are you walking into your office or your home? Does it reflect the same things. And so when did that start kind of resonating with you?
Well, as soon as I found out about this wardrobing technique, it amazed me how much it changed who I was and how I felt in my body and how I presented myself to the world. And I saw the transformation in myself, and I thought, why not use this in somebody's home? Because if my clothes can have this much impact, Lord knows we've all figured out how important our homes are the last year and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your home, you work hard for your home, right? There's
Yes.
mortgages, rents, repairs. By using these techniques, your home can work just as hard for you, and it can help you to thrive. And when I saw how this really did affect how people felt, I saw widows who started dating again, people who had been in homes full of illness and sadness. Just they're so happy. One of my clients, I called her up during the lockdown, and I said, "You okay?" She's like, "I'm in my home. I'm happy, Jeanette. You did such a great job. I don't need to go anywhere. I'm fine." So
Wow.
that's what it's about, is creating a space that you love to come home to, that you feel good in, and that actually gives you energy.
Honestly, I'm totally with you, and I'm kind of thinking back at we just bought a new home, and this process of even deciding what we bring into the new home, right? And having this conscious kind of behavior saying, wait, no, we're not going to use all the things that were at in the new home. And being able to have met you, I don't think that I would have realized that why we were having these discussions, or this stopping point. But it is a desire for reinvention, right?
Yeah.
It's a desire to say, what is it that we do want to bring in from our old life, and what is it that we want in our new life, and we have that opportunity. Now that's moving a complete home, but
Yeah.
you don't have to like move out of your home. Like it's more like, if you feel that friction, there's something energetically, and that's why, like, you as an intuitive, like, you're able to pick up on that
Mhm.
in people's homes too, even when they don't know where it's coming from. And to hear of those transformations, it's just, do you have like a favorite story? I know you told us some stories in the longer episode, but I'm sure that there are some things that just really lit you up.
Yes. I think one of my favorite stories is uh, there was I had a client, and the little girl was still sleeping in the same room with mom and dad. She's 9 years old,
Mm.
and she was having nightmares over 9/11. This is 5 years after.
Ah,
And we went into her room, and there were these big stripes on the wall. And mom had created a little princess room for her. She really had done a nice job, but it wasn't the right princess room for her princess.
mm.
And so the little girl was dyslexic, and the stripes were doing this.
They were like vibrating.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it looked like the towers right before they fell.
oh my gosh.
And so it never ended for her. And I told mom, I said, she's dyslexic. Yellow is going to help her learn better. All you got to do is paint the walls, and everything's going to go away. And so one can of paint, back then it was like $20 and a
Wow.
weekend. And how many drugs would this little girl have been on? How
Yeah.
much they got? Mom and dad got their bedroom back. The little girl was able to sleep again and learn better, all from a can of paint.
Amazing. Yeah, that's huge. That, like, just, that must have filled your heart, and the inspiration that it gives you to find the next person, right? So my call out to our listeners, to our Rocketeers, right, is that if you are going through some sort of transformation in your life. I mean, we talked about in the longer episode that it's natural when we celebrate bringing a new life, a baby, that we actually design a nursery. But nothing happens on the flip side. There's nothing that's standard to say, guess what? like this is also a reinvention. This is also a transition to a new phase. And I urge you, if this is interesting to you, I actually urge everybody to listen to the longer episode. It's just great information. But of course, you guys know that every single one of our episodes, our intention is to not only inspire you, but to give you something to do. So your something to do is to text RF for Rocket Fuel dash reinvention to 411321. And Jeanette put together this great guide on what you could start looking for in your house, the small things that you could start to do to start kind of satisfying that desire for reinvention. And I really appreciate that you put that together. And Jeanette also put a link to her calendar so that you can gain access to her. She has a great new program where she can help people virtually. Like you can access her on a monthly basis and she's there to help you with shopping and changing. Like that's an awesome service. So no matter where you are, if you're in the US, text RF-reinvention to 411321. And if you're outside of the US, then you could text RF-reinvention to +1 909 741 1321. Jeanette can still help you there. This is what the odd dark gift, right, that COVID gave us, was recognizing that you could do something like this remotely. Any final thoughts or words to the audience aside from listen to the longer episode?
Your home is such an integral part of you. And I just want people to really understand how much it can help you, and look at their homes and look at the color around them and how much it affects them on such a much deeper level. So I do hope you tune in and you could get a little taste of how much color can do for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm very, very excited for all the people that are going to be served by this episode. All right. So thank you so much, Jeanette. And for you Rocketeers out there, I hope that you have a rockin' day. Bye now. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, every one of our episodes is boosted by a value-packed keyword called a catchword. Yeah. This allows our audiences to text to receive even more value from our guests. So take advantage of that great value. And if you share your expertise by guesting on podcasts or TV or speaking in front of live or digital audiences, then you're leaving anonymous fans behind. So go get a catchword at catchwords.com, KETCH words.com, and use podcast20 as a promo code for 20% off your setup fee. Look, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Rocket Fuel podcast so you never miss your jolt of rocket fuel. Until next time, adios. Buckle up, excellence junkies, because this podcast is definitely for you. Welcome to Rockafuel. Do you wish that you could surround yourself with people that love to kick ass just like you? Well, come to my party, baby, and meet some of the brightest stars in the entrepreneurial galaxy, because it is my mission to give these entrepreneurs a platform to declare what they are on this planet to accomplish and to show you why they are rocket fuel. And we're live, guys. Oh, this episode today, I am very excited and intrigued to bring this to you, because have you ever felt just thrown off by your environment? Like, let's say my desk is a mess, or oh my gosh, the kitchen is a mess, and your energy is just completely thrown off. Well, I thought it was just kind of a thing that I experienced and I needed to get over it. But our expert today is the color whisperer. She is an expert interior designer, and she made me aware of the impact that my environment in my home actually has on me. And so I'm so excited to be able to bring that to you today. Jeanette Chasworth, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy that you were able to join us, Jeanette.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
So tell me a little bit, before we get into the whole, my environment is wrecking my mood. Tell me your background it's in interior design. Have you always done this, or how did you get into interior design?
Well, really, my mother raised me to be an interior designer, but she didn't know it. She constantly moved furniture around, and she would wake us up on Saturday morning. Come on, girls, we're going to move this. We're going to paint this. We're going to peel the wallpaper, whatever it was. My sister and I were her crew, and we were constantly moving things. My first degree is in literature, because I love character study and how a story gets developed. And I do that now, but I do it with houses. I went into publishing for 3 years, and there were 8 babies born in my department, and I didn't have any. So I got to see what everybody did, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me. And so I took a class in interior design just because I was bored, and I fell in love, hook, line, and sinker.
Wow, interesting. So how long have you been working in interior design?
I've been getting paid for it for 25 years.
But you've been naturally that for a long, long time. Interesting. So it was really interesting, because when we prepared for this, just having you talk about how you've kind of evolved into really supporting people that kind of need a change in their environment. And can you tell me a little bit about that? Like, when is it that you started realizing that your sweet spot was helping people change their homes to change their lives?
So first, one of the parts of me being a whisperer is I use a wardrobing technique that reflects your energy. And when I learned that, I was like, I'd already studied how the psychology of color and how much impact that has on you. But when I got that piece of the puzzle, I thought, how much more powerful can my design be if I used this piece of the puzzle into it?
Can you tell me a little bit more about what that is?
So there's 4 basic personalities, and each personality has a different energy. So you've got the cheerleader, the person who brightens up the room, and right? And then you've got the person who is a little bit more calm and serene. They're the supporter. Then you've got your leader, who, like, they're the ones making lists. Like, they, whatever they're doing, they come in, okay, we're gonna do this, right? And then you have somebody who's very analytical, and they kind of, like, they're quiet, but their presence is really bold as well. So somebody like Jackie Kennedy. So like, she didn't have to say much, but her presence just exuded this energy about her. So when you are in your the clothes that fit that energy, you become more alive, you become more seen. And when you're living in that, you have so much more power. So,
Whoa.
for instance, so my colors, I get teal. This is probably the brightest color I get. You can see I've got red behind me and tans behind me. I've got some gold. That gold makes me feel fun. And, when I'm writing, I actually do writing in my living room, which is yellow, because that really makes me feel creative. And I've got green in here. So, and you can see the picture back there. It's got golds and greens and yellows and blues and oranges, and so that is what feeds me.
Interesting. So now, for example, like, is yellow always a creative color, or could it be a different color for somebody else?
So yellow is always a creative color. Yellow and orange, with psychology of color, they're always creative.
Mm.
And now some people, orange is not a good color. They're never going to choose orange.
Uh-huh.
But they need the yellow. And they're different types of creativity. And so when you think about the classic smiley face, right? It's got a yellow background.
Yeah.
And that's because that color just makes you feel lighter and makes you smile. Now, my yellow is more of a gold color.
Uh-huh.
I don't have that bright yellow. Somebody else might have a yellow that is more of a spring yellow, that clear, bright yellow.
Right. Right.
So it depends on what shade, what hue is going to match their energy. It's
Right.
really important. If I'm in a room that's that bright yellow, it's okay. I have a little bit of that personality, so but it doesn't make me thrive the way a room that's gold would. It
Right.
inspire me.
So what's interesting about all of this is that sometimes we think that our feelings about the environment are something that, like, we're making up.
Yeah,
And so what you're saying is that no, there's like science to that, and we
absolutely.
know that affects people. It affects what you wear, will affect what other people think of you as well, and what you're feeling about yourself. And we know that people do, that color work for their wardrobe. But it's interesting for you to bring it into something way more important, which is our home. Now, I imagine also, even for office design, right? That's like a big thing as well. But we're talking about home, and
Right.
so when you said this, it was interesting because all of a sudden I started realizing, like, if I came home from the office and the kitchen was messy, I'm like, why am I so stressed? Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
so stressed out. And literally, like, that day, I was like, telling my husband, now I understand. Like, I need to make sure that when I come back home from the office, because that's like our main hangout area, right? That is clean and serene, because then that allows me to transition. And so, first, I want to thank you for giving me the permission, right, and the information to be able to understand that. So can you share with the audience, what are some of the common things that really throw people off in their home?
Oh, paint color is a huge one.
Mm.
And, we've got this idea that everything needs to be white or everything needs to be gray. Now, there are some personalities, gray is awesome. Gray is not in my palette. I don't get
Mm.
gray. I don't want gray.
Uh-huh.
If gray is not in your palette, it's not going to be good for you. I don't care how trendy it is. Gray's been around a long time. It ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Uh-huh.
And But if it's not your color, it's gonna suck you dry. I've had clients call me and hire me because literally they just felt like, we never use this room. It's a beautiful room, big part of their house, and they never use the room because they just feel drained every time they go in there. And it's
Mm.
because of the color.
So some of the major things that we can kind of be aware of is, like, okay, this room stresses me out,
Mm-hmm.
or we find that we don't use a room as much as we may use another room,
Right?
or I'm trying to think of things like triggers for people to kind of realize, because if it's one thing if you own a home and you can paint it and such. But in some cases, let's say you're renting and you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to paint the whole house or whatever. Like, what can I do to kind of address that?
So pictures, get some
Mm,
big pictures. And the other thing too is furniture placement. That's where a lot of people, they don't understand. They just say, okay, well, I like this couch. I'm going to bring it home. And then they get there and it doesn't fit. Maybe it's too big. Maybe it's too small. So you're not taught it. People
mm,
aren't taught it.
mm,
I've studied space planning. So having the right furniture placement is really important. And a
mm.
lot of times too, you're moving into a new place. Maybe it fit in the old house, but it doesn't fit in the new place.
Right, right. Which actually takes us to transitions, right? So, when I met you, it's like, okay, you have all of this experience in design and like custom furniture work and all of this stuff, and then recognizing that you've kind of developed an attraction, or you've been attractive to as well, women that are going through some sort of transformation in their life. Can you talk a little bit more about what that typically looks like? What do you mean?
Sure.
Like, what kind of transformation would they be going through in their lives?
So part of because of the techniques I use, it is a part of self-discovery. What I do,
Mm,
it's not just I make your house pretty. I'm actually helping you to rediscover yourself. So
mm,
what I do when a client calls me, a lot of times I get somebody who is going through divorce, they've been a widow for a couple of years and they're ready to move on. They're empty nesters. Our roles change. When you have a
mm.
baby, you do this big thing, you create the nursery, you have the big baby shower. When it's the other way around and somebody's leaving your life, there's no party. There's not that support, that community support, and you're struggling to do it on your own. And
Mm.
that's where I come in, is I help you to, like, a lot of times they're asking, who am I? Like,
Yeah,
my
it's a
kids are
reinvention
gone. Who
stage.
am I now? My husband's gone. Who am I now?
Right.
And you have to rediscover that. And because of my approach to color and design, that's part of my process, is I'm showing them their own beauty. I'm showing them the beauty in their home, and that helps them to rediscover themselves as they step into the world that I've created, or that we've created together, because I don't just do it. It's a combined effort.
Yeah. It's interesting because it is that feeling of reinvention, like, okay,
Mhm.
who I was, this one person, and
Yeah.
then I've experienced X, and now I'm next. And I think it's it's interesting you saying that. Obviously, when we bring a child into this world, it's this big thing to do the nursery, and it's just, I mean, obviously a baby, they don't even know what's going on in the room. It's more of like this mindset transition of like something new. And you're right, when we have major transformations in different ways. I mean, it could even be a major change in career, finally, moving out from living with somebody to living on your own, or living on your
Mhm.
own to living with somebody, like, and then, as you said, like, death. It could be death of a partner, it could be death of a child, god forbid, or miscarriage. All of these things where we're going through this experience of, wow, I was that, and this experience is enough to jolt me,
Yeah.
to all of a sudden make me think, like, what am I next? And then we're sitting in the old.
Yeah. It
And,
doesn't fit anymore. It's like wearing clothes that are, 2 decades old, or you've got a shoe that doesn't fit, or
mm-hmm.
you can't, it creates ghosts. That's what I say, is it's kind of like having ghosts in the house of a past that you can't have anymore.
Yes, well, you told me this story, and I think it's in your value bomb as well. Can you tell the audience the story? I don't even. I think you know what I'm talking about, so I don't want to
Yeah,
say
I do.
anything.
So I had a client, and she had moved into her husband's house. The house had been decorated by him and his previous wife back in the 60s. So it's full of metallic wallpaper and, shag carpet and all that
Nice.
lovely stuff, right? And when we moved in, the first day I go there and she says, it came out she's still using the ex-wife's coffee pot. It's 10 years old. Who has a coffee pot that long? And I said,
Uh,
right? I said, you've got to get rid of that. That's going in the trash right now.
Now, wait, but the coffee pot was like from the previous marriage. It was like
right. It was the ex-wife's coffee pot. I'm like, no.
no.
She lived, close to Costco. I said, you're going to go over to Costco. You're going to buy a coffee pot today. She's like, oh, I have one in the garage. Let's go get it now and plug it in. And all this time, when she had first moved in, the kids were like, you can't touch any of my mom's stuff. And so that stuck with her. And it took until that moment where she could say, this is my house. When I went back the next time, she'd started peeling all that metallic wallpaper. And what was really wonderful, when it was all done, the kids were like, we can't believe you waited this long to do it. We're so happy for you.
Yeah.
That's a long time to live in somebody else's dated stuff. It wasn't her at all.
Yeah, but what's interesting is one, being able to have that external permission, right? That's really important, because she was having these messages coming from her family, and maybe like they had expired already, but in her mind they were still there. Yeah, and then you kind of forget, but you don't realize that subconsciously, like you have somebody else's stuff, or you're compromising, or, and it's so cool that just changing the coffee pot was this catalyst for her to be like, yeah, I want to reinvent myself, which goes to, I referred to the piece, the value bomb, right? So for those Rocketeers that listen to Rocket Fuel frequently, that I always ask our experts to provide us with just some additional value, because if you are that person, if you are that woman who is going through some sort of role change in your life, right? And all of a sudden this is kind of resonating with you, right? You're like, okay, yeah, I think my environment is either annoying me, or it's not helping me, or there's something, I feel like a change is going to happen, right? Then I highly encourage that you text for this value bomb, because Jeanette put together a piece called Reinvent Your Home, Reinvent Your Life. And these are tools, this is information for you to use, and actually an exercise for you to use to start evaluating what may be some of those ghosts that Jeanette mentioned, right? Those ghosts that are in your home that you don't realize, and that are keeping you from your reinvention. So in order to request this, you can text RF for Rocket Fuel, RF dash reinvention to 411321. Make sure when you text, if it asks for your email address, to please provide that. And if you are listening internationally or outside of the US, of course, you can text RF-reinvention as the message to the phone number +1 909 741 1321. Okay, I'm not going to leave you out. Remember, if you text it and it asks you for your email address, provide that email address, because that's how you're going to get this guide immediately. And it was just chock full of really good information, and just an amazing resource for reflection. I really consider this hopefully the first step for anybody that is listening, that is realizing that their desire is reinvention, right? I think so many of us don't realize that is what's creating the discomfort.
And it keeps you stuck. It's keeping you stuck. And when you change the house, so just like when you come home and you've got a dirty kitchen, and you're like, oh, it's like another chore to do, and you're feeling stressed. But when you clean that off, then all of a sudden, everything else disappears. I know personally, I get really, I get projects, and sometimes they take over more than my office. And and then I'll clean it up, and it's like, oh, I can think straight,
Yeah, absolutely. And you made me think when you were saying that you helped your mom rearrange furniture and such. It make me think my mom loves to rearrange furniture. Like she just is just like, I need a change. Let's just mix things up, right? So it's interesting that now for those of us that do that, that could actually, being aware, it could actually be an indication that you need to really change things up, right? Like that's your body, your mind saying, okay, like I feel like I need this change right now. I'm doing it through rearranging my furniture. What are some other things that people can do outside of like a full rehaul, right? What are some things that people can do when they feel that desire for reinvention?
I call it design therapy. It's really good. Uh, moving your furniture around, changing your accessories around, especially if there's been a change in your family. Change the pictures around because maybe some of those pictures are just reminders of something you can't have. And so take those down, put up some new ones. There's a lot of places you can get some inexpensive art. Be creative with it. Change your accessories out. It's amazing. I collect teapots, and I have too many, and I can't keep them all out. So I change them around. And whenever I start getting bored with, I'm like, oh, okay, it's time for that one to go back into the cupboard, and I pull a different one out, and I get to enjoy that one. So that's another way that you can, real simple way that you can refresh a space. And
Yeah.
I always say paint in a can is the easiest refresh. I had a client, the daughter was having nightmares. She's 9 years old. It's 5 years after 9/11, and she was still having nightmares over 9/11. And she didn't know anybody in the towers. And so I went into her room, and mom had painted this wonderful kind of carousel theme for her. And there are these wide stripes like this on the wall. And the girl was dyslexic, so they weren't straight stripes. They were doing this, like right before the towers fell. So
You're
it never
vibrating.
ended for her. All we had to do, and I said, look, if you paint the walls yellow, the stripes are going to disappear, the nightmares are going to disappear, but the yellow will also help her to learn more. She goes, oh yeah, the living room's yellow, and we can't get her out of there. So the little girl knew, her body knew what she needed. But what doctor would have figured that one out?
Right.
So a can of paint, mom and dad got their bedroom back, the nightmares went away. And I mean, how many drugs would this girl have been on because of a can of paint?
Wow.
Huge.
Wow, 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 wow. And this is where, learning a little bit, I think obviously is the beginning, right? Texting RF dash reinvention, like that's the beginning. But my objective is for those of us that realize that this is a really disruptive, right? There's something there to it. It's totally worth it. I mean, that story alone, right? So you may have a child that's going through, behavioral challenges, or you're having concentration issues in your office or any of that stuff. And that's where, I'm a big fan of just bringing in experts, right? I feel like people need to leverage experts. You focus on that. This is your expertise. You've interacted with so many people, so you have this wealth of experience of all of these different scenarios. Now, do you help people? Because you live in California, correct? Do you help people remotely now? Like what has that happened? What has happened during COVID in your ability to support people?
So I can do it virtually. It's a little bit more difficult. I can do it. And I actually am just launching this week. It is Designer at Your Fingertips. So this is a subscription that you can do for $1.99 a month, and you get access to me via Zoom and Facebook. So it's really cool. I can get into your home via Zoom and look at what's going on. And then there's a 3-month version of that where I've created a beautiful handbook for your design personality. So it's your own personal blueprint. So it will give you the colors, the shapes, the textures, and the furniture styles that fit you. So you get all the handbook for each of the 4 seasons. You can look at it. I'll help you decide which one you are. And then you get 3 months of the Q&A with me through Zoom. And you also get access to my designer resources. With that one, you also get a copy of my book, What's Color Got to Do with It? So I'm real excited about this because I can help people anywhere in the world with all of this. And
absolutely. Look at that. I mean, look at how COVID created this reinvention, and that's a wonderful service to be able to when you have that itch, right? You're like, oh, I need to do something, and to be able to have access to somebody when you're saying, okay, I'm going to Bed Bath and Beyond because I know I have gone and then bought a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like, this didn't work out, but I just like I needed to make some sort of change. So that was like my reaction. So so that's amazing. So where can people learn about this? At thecolorwhisperer.com?
On thecolorwhisperer.com. There's also a bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/home queries. HOMEQUERRIES.
So bit.ly/home queries?
It's bit.ly.
Thank you. Okay. And I'm going to post this right here. Tell me if this is correct.
QUERRIES.
All right, hold on. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
QUE. All right. This is important. So
QUERR.
Oh, it didn't. I didn't save it. Oh, I made the change and I didn't save it. You see, you guys are listening to this live. Yes, you are. There's the save button, and let's show this. And then that. Is that correct now?
2 hours.
2 hours. Oh my. Oh my god. Okay, so ultimately you can watch us on YouTube and notice all the mistakes that I'm making here while I'm trying to type this and see.
There we go.
All right. Excellent. Or just go to thecolorwhisperer.com. Yes. But I do highly recommend that you text for this guide immediately, right? Don't wait. Take your inspiration. Say, okay, I need to do something. The something is to text RF-reinvention, REINVENTION. Okay, RF-reinvention to 411321. If you're here in the US, provide your email address. If it doesn't ask for your email address, then good for you, because that means you've probably texted another catchword before, and we know who you are. So it's right there in your email inbox. Or if you are outside of the US, then you could text it to +1 909 741 1321. All that info is also in the show notes. Don't delay, right? If you have this feeling like, yes, but Jeanette has helped me kind of put a word to it. I want this reinvention, and that's why I'm angsting in my home. I'm angsting in my office, especially, and maybe you don't have that feeling just yet, but I would like to throw out, Jeanette, for those of us going through the major transition period, divorce, death, loss of a loved one, any of these big changes, I think your point is very important. We purposely make changes in our home when we're bringing in something new. And as something leaves, that should probably just be part of the process for us to figure out what needs to change.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what's wonderful is that you're just a natural intuitive. And so I loved that, just with time, you've been able to merge like your experience as interior designer and do this. I mean,
I've had quite a bit of death myself, so I've been through it.
Yeah. Well, tell us more about that, because you have an empathy for that. And so tell us why.
So my father died when I was a year old, and I lived with that grief for 25 years. And I didn't realize exactly how much. I knew it was impacting me. I knew it was causing some issues, and I didn't know how to fix it. When I was 26, I had asthma, and I found a healer who was able to fix it in one session, which was amazing. And that's my other passion, is learning about energy healing. And so I learned from him what he did. And I'm healing in clients' home, whether or not they even want the whole thing. Just my being there, because I listen to your home the way a healer would listen to your body. I'm picking up on things that, I don't even know all the times. Like a client may not tell me they're having trouble sleeping, and we get done and it's like, oh, I'm sleeping better. They may be arguing a lot and we get done, oh, our relationship is so much better now. And I don't like, they don't always tell me that I can. If they tell me I can fix these things, but they don't know I can fix these things, so they don't tell me. But I can listen to it and I can pick up on it.
What a gift. What a gift. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for just bringing just putting a completely different light on interior design and color. And now I understand why you are the color whisperer. Any final words for the audience?
Really, truly, just listen to your gut. Your body's talking to you. Your home is talking to you. And if it's feeling closed in or stale, or if you're feeling like you need a change at all, just embrace it and go for it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. You are clearly hashtag Rocket Fuel. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise. And for you Rocketeers out there, I hope that you have an amazing rockin' day. Bye now. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, every one of our episodes is boosted by a value-packed keyword called a catchword. Yeah. This allows our audiences to text to receive even more value from our guests. So take advantage of that great value. And if you share your expertise by guesting on podcasts or TV or speaking in front of live or digital audiences, then you're leaving anonymous fans behind. So go get a catchword at catchwords.com, KETCH words.com, and use podcast20 as a promo code for 20% off your setup fee. Look, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Rocket Fuel podcast so you never miss your jolt of Rocket Fuel. Until next time, adios.